Hey everyone, Cycle Breaker here. When it comes to today's star, Zankou, I absolutely love that whole dangerously devoted villain vibe. I have already made a whole series of Zankou shorts too. There is a lot on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and do not get lost. Now, back to the game. Zankou is basically the queen of mechanic. She starts combat with full cycle energy, her passive gives her cycle intensity, she can maintain Scorch indefinitely, and even her basic attacks can group enemies. She can be played as a main DPS, a sub-DPS, or even in break teams. This character is ridiculous, so I had to bring you a full guide right away. We are covering her entire kit, build priorities, team rotations, and awakening recommendations. And just as a reminder, I do not only make long-form NTE guides and reviews, I also post plenty of chaotic AI videos and quick showcases for new skins. So yes, I am asking again, please subscribe. It really does make a huge difference for the channel. Alright, enough talk. Let's fire up NTE. Let's start with the fastest possible explanation of her kit. If you have the game open right now, switch to Zankou and follow along with me. Tap basic attack and Zankou performs a combo of up to 5 hits. Now hold basic attack. You should see the redirect skill in the bottom right corner light up. The redirect skill is her regular skill button, which is E on keyboard. Use it and Zankou enters her empowered state. From there, you can tap or hold basic attack. Either one is fine. While you attack, keep watching the bottom right corner, and when the redirect skill lights up again, use it. After that, her ultimate will light up. Use it. The ultimate button will still be active, so press it again. Once both ultimates are finished, go back to the basic attack loop from the beginning. And that is it. You now know how to play Zankou. But this is a proper guide, so let's slow down and go through the mechanics carefully. If that quick demonstration already made sense, feel free to skip ahead to the build section. Zankou has two combat states, reality and illusion. Think of reality as her normal state and illusion as her empowered state. In reality, her basic attack is 5 hits. The 5th hit groups enemies, and she also gets a nearly permanent self-buff called Hunt, which increases her own damage dealt. In illusion, her basic attack is 4 hits, and the 3rd hit groups enemies. Her self-buff changes to delusion, which increases the crit damage over time effects taken by enemies. Whenever her attacks connect in this empowered state, they also apply 1 stack of Hard Trench. Hard Trench spreads up to 4 different damage over time effects already on the target across the affected enemies, including the original target. Her basic attacks in illusion also count as follow-up attacks. Both forms have branching basic attack. If you hold basic attack during the first or second hit of the combo, Zankou performs a different charged branch attack. The branch you will use most often is the reality version, basic attack, Flickering Shadow. In practice, you can simply open by holding basic attack. Next, let's look at the redirect skill. The standard white version deals damage and switches Zankou between reality and illusion. If you use the redirect skill within the activation window, after the 4th or 5th reality basic attack, a dodge counter, or reality's charged branch attack, it becomes the empowered yellow version and triggers Disarray. Near the end of illusion's duration, the empowered pink redirect skill becomes available instead, and that triggers Oblivion. All 3 color versions share the same 5-second cooldown. To maximize damage, you only want to use the 2 empowered versions, yellow and pink. In other words, stay in each form until the redirect skill lights up, then press E. The main goal is to land the pink redirect skill in illusion, return to reality, and use both ultimate, Inferno Flamenco and Blood Feast Reverie. Both ultimates deal multiple hits with very high multipliers. If you simply use your ultimate at full energy, it consumes all of that energy and casts Inferno Flamenco. But if you use the pink redirect skill in illusion to return to reality, and then press ultimate, it still consumes all of your energy, but this time it casts Blood Feast Reverie. The difference is that, for a limited time after Blood Feast Reverie, you can press ultimate again to cast Inferno Flamenco for free. If you wait too long, that free cast disappears, so make sure you use it immediately. Now for her 2 passives. The first is her cycle enhancement. It allows Scorch to stack up to 3 times. Whenever your team applies a damage over time stack to an enemy affected by Scorch, Zankou applies 1 additional stack of Scorch for every damage over time stack added. In plain English, Zankou can maintain full Scorch uptime indefinitely. Her second passive instantly fills her cycle energy when combat begins. This can trigger only once per battle. Zankou also comes with 100 cycle intensity built into her kit. Finally, her first life skill improves the new Volley Star mode. It raises a character's serving, spiking, and receiving stats, and it increases the amount you can gain from the Tycoon Incentive Fund. It still cannot push you past the fund's cap, so the real benefit is simply reducing the grind. Speaking of Volley Star, here is a completely shameless trick if if you cannot win normally. Drive a big truck onto the opposing side of the court and park it there. Congratulations, you now own the court, and the match is basically free. Her other life skill is tied to the Fighting Club City activity. It lets you spend additional city stamina for more rewards, which makes farming that activity more efficient, and that covers the kit. Now let's move on to her build. For skill leveling, unlock both passives first, then max Zankou's 2 main damage skills, her ultimate and redirect skill, followed by her basic attack. Since she is a damage dealer though, the best end goal is to max everything if you have the resources. Her support skill is less important. The multiplier increase is fairly limited, and it does not provide any buff, so you can leave it unleveled if you are trying to get the best value from your materials. Next, let's talk about arc. Zankou's limited signature arc has a very high 570 base attack and a 24% crit rate sub-stat. Its effect gives another 16% crit rate. Whenever the wearer deals incantation damage, the arc can gain 19% crit damage stack every 0.3 seconds, up to 7 stack. Triggering it again refreshes the duration. As usual, the biggest advantage of a limited arc is the high base stat. With one base copy, this arc provides a stable 40% crit rate in total, and the fully stacked effect reaches 63% crit damage. At maximum copies, the expected damage gain is about 28%. The base attack stays the same, but the crit rate substat rises from 24% to 32%, while each crit damage stack from dealing damage over time damage doubles from 9% to 18%. Overall, the scaling is pretty substantial. For main DPS Zankou, I still recommend going for the base character plus one copy of her signature arc if you can. It secures her damage, and also takes a lot of pressure off the rest of your build. She simply does not have another lower rarity option that fits her nearly as well. If you are only using Zankou as a damage over time support for Lacrimosa, Scorch can benefit from crit damage, so Chiz's arc, Contemplative Cat, becomes an option. It gives 512 base attack and 44% crit damage. Although Zankou cannot activate its special effect, the other fallback is Watch Your Heads. Its main advantages are that it is easier to obtain, and it does not compete for the same gear. At maximum copies, it gives 475 base attack and 40% crit damage. Zankou can only use the part of its effect that grants 18% attack after casting a redirect skill, but it is good enough as a temporary option. Now for her console. We will split this into main DPS and sub-DPS setups as well. For main DPS Zankou, run the incantation set Crimson, Twin Butterflies. Adjust the main stat around your actual character sheet, but first make sure you can reach roughly 75% crit rate. At low awakening, crit damage is the best main stat. If you have Zankou at A3 plus her signature arcade or higher, incantation damage bonus gives the largest increase instead. For module substats, choose from crit rate, crit damage, universal damage bonus, and attack percent. If a piece rolls 3 useful stats from that group, it meets the baseline for a finished build. If Zankou is being used as a sub-DPS, Scorch also benefits from defense ignore, so I recommend Lost Radiance. In that setup, use cycle intensity as the main stat. For substats, prioritize cycle intensity, crit damage, crit rate, universal damage bonus, and attack percent. That is basically everything for the console. Now let's get into teams and rotations. Zankou has a lot of viable teams, so once again, we are going to split them into main DPS and sub-DPS setups. For main DPS Zankou, my recommended team is Daffodil, Sakiri, and Iroy. The entire comp is built around Zankou's direct damage plus permanent Scorch uptime. Daffodil applies the first stack of Scorch at the start of the fight to get the engine running. Sakiri provides grouping and a huge amount of buffs. Iroy triggers Hex with Zankou, while also covering survival and team support. If you do not have Iroy, Adler is a strong replacement with reliable survivability and buffs. Linko, who arrives in the second half, may also work well with Zankou, so that is one to watch once we can test the final version. If you want to use Zankou as a sub-DPS, pair her with Lacrimosa and Sakiri, then use either Fadia or Haniel in the last slot. Haniel has the higher theoretical support ceiling, while Fadia is the safer and more comfortable option because she brings better survival. Pick whichever fits your account and the content you are fighting. There is also a break team, which is better suited to high-risk anomaly commissions. In most cases, breaking the enemy's white gauge twice is enough to finish the boss. The downside is that, aside from Sakiri, every character on this team needs a specific awakening to really perform. The setup uses Zankou at 1 awakening plus her signature arc, with that awakening point assigned to A5. Daffodil needs A2 to maintain her ultimate rotation. Jiuyuan needs A3 for the additional break reduction, and the final slot is Sakuri. That comes to 7 S-rank character or arc copies in total. But the good news is that Zankou is the only limited character. If you already happen to own these pieces, the team is absolutely worth trying. Jiuyuan can also be replaced by Adler using a maximum copy the Great Thief, which lowers the cost even further. Finally, let's go through Zankou's awakenings in priority order. Even at A0, Zankou's damage is already extremely impressive. But if you get lucky, or have some extra budget, and can unlock 1 awakening, prioritize either A1 or A5. A1 allows the basic attacks and redirect skills in both forms to spread damage over time effect. That makes her much more comfortable in AoE, and when switching targets. It also upgrades both of her core buffs. Hunt raises Zankou's personal damage bonus from 25% to 40%, while Delusion raises the entire team's damage over time crit damage bonus from 25% to 50%. A1 is also the first choice for sub-DPS Zankou in Lacrimosa teams, so this is easily her best value awakening. A5 is better for break teams. The first hit of her yellow redirect skill against a breakable target immediately puts that target into the broken state. This can trigger only once per target in each battle. Once you unlock it, Zankou also feels much better in the open world. Use Daffodil's Q and E, land all 5 hits of Zankou's basic attack, then press the yellow E, and the shield is gone instantly. You can finish a boss in just a few seconds. The team-wide 300% break damage increase also makes A5 an incredible awakening for dedicated break comp. If you have 2 awakening points, take A2 and A4 together. Whenever Zankou participates in Scorch or Hex, A2 builds a special stored flame resource. That resource increases the final damage of her next Inferno Flamenco by 150%. A4 removes the earlier setup requirement and lets Zankou cast both ultimates unconditionally. Combined with A2, the first ultimate also receives the final damage bonus without consuming the stored flame stack. Then, the second ultimate receives the bonus again and consumes those stacks. You get the benefit twice, which is exactly what you want. With 3 awakening points, add A5 on top of A2 and A4. That combination gives Zankou a strong experience in basically every type of content. The 3 awakening resonance also raises every skill level by 1, which is worth around 7%. On top of that, the multipliers on both of Zankou's ultimates increase by 20%, for an overall gain of roughly 18%. With 4 awakening points, take A1, A2, A4, and A5. With 5 points, add A3. It mainly improves her 2 core buffs. Hunt gains 50% interruption resistance in addition to its damage bonus, while Delusion restores 4% of Zankou's max HP every second. It does not increase her damage, but it takes a lot of pressure off her survivability. That can let you replace a defensive teammate with a more aggressive support. I recommend saving A6 for last. It increases the damage of Oblivion, the empowered pink redirect skill, based on the total number of damage over time stacks on the target. The number looks generous at first glance, but Oblivion is not a large share of Zankou's total rotation damage, so A6 has the lowest priority here. Last, let's cover the 6 awakening resonance. After Zankou deals damage to a target, she gains a non-stacking 40% attack increase. Dealing damage triggers it, and refreshes the duration, so it effectively has permanent uptime. When an enemy affected by Scorch is defeated, Zankou also gains a 60-second buff. During that buff, whenever she applies a damage over time effect to a target, that target's Scorch immediately jumps to the maximum stack count. Defeating another scorched enemy refreshes the duration, so the real value of her full awakening is permanent maximum stack Scorch and extremely strong target switching. As for the attack increase, on an endgame build with an attack buffer teammate such as A1 Sakuri, it works out to roughly an 18% to 21% damage increase. And that is everything for this complete Zankou guide. Do not forget to leave a free like if the video helped you. I will see you in the next one. Bye!